everyone, and welcome to the Divorced Dad Diaries, and I'm your host, Stéphane Jutras. Hello everyone, and I'm really happy to be back here behind the microphone. And I know it's been once again quite a while since the last episode, a lot longer than I would have thought, but I won't start talking about excuses and why it took that long. It's been a very busy past couple months in different areas, and I still, even though I didn't record, or actually it's not true, I recorded one or two episodes during that time which are being edited at the moment, but even then a lot of things happened during that time, and I actually thought about recording and posting some pretty much every day, but it never really kind of happened. And now all of a sudden we're getting to the holidays. I mean, holidays are just around the corner, and my plan was, you know what, I really need to do, as I usually do every year, a little Christmas episode. So I took some time this afternoon to basically sit down behind my microphone and talk a bit about the holidays and what it means for divorced dads and divorced parents in general. So this is not my first Christmas episodes. I went through a couple of them the past couple of years. So usually once a year I try to make an episode, and also try not to repeat the same thing. So if you want to go back to previous years and listen to the previous episode, there's a lot of good information about Christmas. And, it's not an easy time of year, obviously. Especially, it's supposed to be festive, it's supposed to be family time. And definitely if you've gone through a divorce and you don't have your kids with you during Christmas, or you don't have your kids with you like for the whole time, a lot of time it might be split between the parents. It can be a very tough time, and very challenging. And obviously, again, for the first time, I guess I would say the first time, but for the first year when you first go through that period, which is again supposed to be festive, it can be quite hard. My kids obviously got a bit older, and one of them is not even here, and she's flying back home during the holidays, so that would be nice. But definitely, again, when they're younger and when this just happens, it can be very challenging. So the idea is really to, again, as hard as it can be, is really to try to maximize and enjoy as much as you can the time that you have with them. So some people might have, just a day. So I remember when the kids were younger, it would be, for example, Christmas Day would be with me, and New Year's Day would be with their mom, or vice versa. So it was always kind of discussing which days will be with who, and also depending on the activities that you do. So on our side, usually we celebrate Christmas Eve. So the kids will be with me Christmas Eve, and Christmas Day might be with the other parent. So obviously there's a lot of different ways of doing it. There's a lot of different arrangements that are possible. And hopefully if you're kind of somehow amicable, you can manage it every year and kind of discuss with your ex-partner. Or often what's happening, it's something that is actually in the divorce agreement. And that's one of the part that is at times, I would say, important to put down, because it doesn't seem to be such a big deal. But once the holidays come around the corner and you have things planned, if you don't have anything written down in your divorce agreement, it might be a bit challenging to know where and when the kids are going and what they'll be doing during the holidays. So definitely it will be a good thing to make sure that this is kind of clearly identified in there. That said, a lot of times it is, but it's still challenging. And again, it doesn't mean that it's written down, that it's respected. So hopefully there can be a lot of flexibility between the parents during that time. And the thing that you have to keep in mind too, it's also, in my mind, really about the children and making sure that they have a great time. We have to have a great time too, obviously, as parents. And if it was up to us, I'm sure we would prefer spending all the time with them. But definitely sometimes we kind of lose a bit of perspective that it's also very difficult for the kids on that front. They're used to have, obviously, both their parents. They're used to celebrate a certain way, and you might have traditions that you do during that time. And all of a sudden, they get into houses and the traditions are kind of broken. And yeah, I think it's time to kind of sit down and start new ones. And I mentioned that in some of my previous episodes, previous Christmas episode. one of the good thing that is to be done during that time is sit down and start new traditions, at your house. How you build a Christmas tree, when you do it, how do you do it, and even Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and all this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things that can be done, and that can be like specific to your place, and they would do the same thing with their moms and on their side as well. So we kind of twist it out in a little bit. That holiday can also be, enjoyed by everyone and by the kids too, right? At the same time, they'll be celebrating probably Christmas twice instead of before having everybody together. So you might have a Christmas at mom's and Christmas at dad's. And even though at the beginning it sounds all good, obviously you would prefer having a full family holiday. Again, it doesn't mean that the tradition will just stop there. I mean, you start new things on that front, and you try to make it as fun as you can. And I think that's what's important for the kids to remember, remember the Christmas that they're spending with you, and also the Christmas that they're spending with their other parent as well. So holidays can be hard for everyone, as I mentioned before. I mean, the time that you have your kids, it's great, and you try to spend as much happy time with them as you can. But there's a time where you won't have them and they're with the other parent, and you kind of end up being by yourself. So that's definitely a bit challenging. And there's ways to kind of try to cope with that. I mean, it's never easy, but it's definitely an opportunity to do things on your side during that time and kind of enjoy a bit of time with yourself and just visit friends, family, and do something as well on your side. Because like I said, I was talking about new traditions with the kids, but it's the same, I guess, as a parents too. It will be a new ways of doing things. And it's something that you have to kind of learn to live with at the moment, and kind of look at the positive side as well and try to do things that you wouldn't normally do during that time. Also, that it won't be as before. And maybe that's a discussion that is worth having with the kids, saying, it won't be as before. It doesn't mean it will be not as fun, but it will be different. And also, I mean, nowadays we're kind of lucky. Maybe that's something I should do a little episode of technology, but we definitely have like technology out there to kind of bridge those gaps that exist when your kids are not with you and they're with the other parents. There are ways now to be able to communicate with them either by email or by text, or if they're younger, just a phone call, or even younger, right? I mean, little FaceTime on the iPad or FaceTime on a phone, a computer. So and even chatting. I mean, there's ways to kind of do that as well. And ideally, what I like to do was to have some time. The kid might be with you during the holidays and having fun, but it doesn't mean that they can't talk to the other parents. So maybe if they're younger, you can try to set up some time that they can talk to their parents, and hopefully the other parent does the same on their side, right? I mean, part of the joy when you're a kid receiving gifts is you want to share it with everyone. So definitely having some time to call the other parent and just to share, what's happening on their side and show what they got and things like that. Again, I'm saying that like obviously you need a certain type of relationship with the other parent and be kind of amicable and not doing the comparing game and looking at, oh, this gift is bigger than my gift, and why is my kid getting that type of gift, and what will I do? I can't afford this and that. So obviously it might open other doors, but I think what's important is basically kind of use like that technology in a good way to bridge that gap that is there with having your kids not with you during Christmas Day or Christmas Eve or New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. So we're lucky to live in these times where at least there's a bunch of ways that you can reach out. And if ever, sadly, it's not possible, there's other ways of doing it. I mean, I was discussing with dads about just maybe writing a letter. So you can send a letter to your kid, or give a letter to your kid to say, you know what, open that letter on Christmas Day. Or even leaving a couple of gifts at the other parent's house. Again, I would suggest to let them know first, but you can leave a couple of things at their door for your kids just to kind of know that you're thinking about them. So I think there's a lot of ways that can be used to celebrate that with your children. And sometimes also it depends of how everything is. The other parent might live in another city or even another country. So that too is always a way to be able to use the technology to be able to reach out to them and just spend some time. And as much as divorce can be difficult and parents might have challenges and not really agree on a few things, a lot of things, most of the things. I think when it comes down to holidays and thinking about how the kids feel, I think it's important to let them know that they can at least call the other parent and spend that time a little bit with them, even if it's just virtually. So I was talking about before as well. It might be something new for some of the kids and the families, and you don't know what will I do just Christmas. It's not the same. It's just me and my kids instead of being the whole family. Again, I think it's time to start a new tradition. And beforehand, we can do a little bit of preparation, but you can kind of write down some activities that you want to do when your kids will come over for Christmas, for example. And even if it's not on Christmas Day, it doesn't matter anymore, right? I mean, it can be celebrated pretty much any day. I mean, I know a lot of people are kind of pretty hardcore on having Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but why not celebrate on the 26th, 27th? I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's bottom line is spending that special time with your kids and just enjoying the time with them. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of put a bit of thought before and write down some activities that could be done when your kids are there and start new traditions. Like I said, build a Christmas tree and go to the store with your kids and maybe buy new ornaments every year that they'll put up on the tree. So year after year, they have their own ornaments and they remember when they got that. So there's a lot of ways that can be done. But I think the idea here is to try to spend as much time as you can with them and get them involved in it. And not only remember how it was, because there will be probably discussion about that, but kind of looking forward and say, okay, now it's our chance to make it the way we want to make it, and let's do that all together. So I've talked about spending the times with your kids and activities that can be done, and again, using technology as much as you can to be able to stay in contact with them. Or even if it's not possible, we can actually FaceTime and even do a lot of those activities online with them, like playing games or even cooking remotely on each side and trying to do like cupcakes together, even if you're not at the same place. So there's a lot of ideas on that front. If I look at my side, my kids now are a bit older, and obviously it's been a little while, so it's different. And they have girlfriends and boyfriends now, and even my daughter moved out. So now there's different challenges that you don't really realize when when they're younger. Is now it's finding time to be able to see them and for them to see you, right? There's a funny movie that I watch, I would say every Christmas. I watch a couple of times. It's called Four Christmases. So basically, instead of going to your parents to celebrate Christmas and to your wife's parents now, well, since they're divorced, basically you end up having to go to the dad, to the mom, and to the other dad and the other mom. So there's basically kind of a four Christmases there. And I never realized that until probably this year, where my daughter is away and she's actually flying back. She moved to another province here in Canada and she's flying back over the holidays. And obviously, she wants to spend time with me. She wants to spend time with her mom and her boyfriend too, as well, with his mom and his family. So it makes things a bit more complicated because we have the Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. And as much as I said before, it can be done any days during the week. Everybody's trying to do that during those days and keep those tradition of doing that on 24th and 25th. So it always makes things a bit more challenging. And now the challenge is more kind of the scheduling one, is seeing when are the kids coming to see you and what do you do, at that point, and who's going where and when and with who and what time. Okay, I'll do Christmas Day until 12, and at 12 I have to go to the other parents doing this, and at 5 I have to go to, the father-in-law to do this. And so it makes it a bit more complicated. And that's what I'm kind of experiencing this year. Even though my kids will be here in the same city and even the same place, there's still a challenge to be able to celebrate Christmas kind of all together in some ways. So that's another little challenge. But again, I'm happy to see my daughter back here, so I won't complain and enjoy all the time. But it's just funny how it makes it always a bit more challenging. So all that said, I think in my mind and based on the past Christmases and holidays that I spent with my kids, really, I think what's important is to make sure, again, that everybody enjoys their time together, no matter where, no matter what, no matter how long. It can be an hour, it can be half an hour, it can be half a day. Just taking what you can get at that point. and just letting them know that you're there for them. And I think for me, that's what's been the most important. And even now I can see that they actually enjoy that and they remember their past couple of years and the Christmas there and continuing having those traditions. So I know it's not an easy time, and there's probably a lot of fathers out there and mothers as well that won't be able to see their children as much as they wish they could. But like I said, I think just cherish those moments and just try to enjoy them as much as you can, just to show your kids that basically you care and it doesn't matter. It's again, quality over quantity at the end of the day. I know it's sometimes hard to swallow, but it's true. If you have a couple of hours, instead of being mad at the other parents and just not feeling it, just take that couple of hours you have with your kids and really enjoy it as much as you can, so that they basically had the best hour or 2 hours with you, and they'll keep remembering that. So I hope that everybody out there have a very good Christmas and a very happy New Year as well, and wish you definitely the best on that front. And as I always say, and I like to mention it in a lot of my episodes, it can be hard, but I'm always looking forward and looking at what's coming up instead of looking back. And it will get better, and always gets better over time. So I know it's hard to believe that at the beginning. I didn't believe it, but it's definitely a fact. So I hope you all have like the best holidays and spend time with the ones you love, and either in person or virtually. And hopefully, if ever you guys want to share or need to talk or anything during those holidays, please don't hesitate. You can always send me an email at TheDivorcedDadDiaries@gmail.com. You can go on Instagram, send me a message. But if you want to reach out, just please feel free, and I'll be around and definitely answer. And again, also, if you have any questions or any experience that you want to share or anything you want to hear on the podcast in this new year, please let me know. I know I've been working on some of the episodes, so definitely there's things in the work in the background. I will be continuing the 5 stages of divorce, and there's a couple of other series that will be coming up in the new year, but I'm always open for new ideas. So please, if you have any suggestions, don't hesitate to send me an email or get in touch with me. It will be my pleasure to talk about it. And also, I'm planning to have some people over, some interviews. It's been a little while, and I think that in the new year, we'll have a couple of more interviews of experience of dads out there and people that can help and bring some other perspective. So that should be very interesting. Thank you again for joining me. And like I said, don't hesitate to send me an email. You can find me on Instagram at TheDivorcedDadDiaries. You can basically go on Facebook as well, Twitter. There's many ways. Or you go on my website, www.TheDivorcedDadDiaries.com, and you'll find pretty much everything in there. I know at the moment I'm working on a new version of it. It's been a little while now. Hopefully I can have that done. And you'll see more resources available and things like that as well on the website. So I'm really looking forward to launch this in the new year. So until then, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year, and we'll talk soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.